our meteorologists say we're finally going to get back up into the 20s. Celebrate the small victories, I guess. Here's one. It is Friday. We have made it. Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Here are some of the top stories that we're following this hour. Don Lemon, potentially on ice. The former CNN anchor under arrest, facing criminal charges for his role in the storming of a church in Minnesota nearly 2 weeks ago. More on that in just a second, and why charges against him are absolutely warranted. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin puts out a truly vile fundraising email calling ICE agents an execution squad. A Dan O'Donnell Show exclusive is coming up in about 15 minutes. President Trump has signed an executive order creating the Freedom 250 Grand Prix in Washington, D.C., an IndyCar street race through the nation's capital to coincide with America's 250th birthday this summer. All the details in the daily Trump date coming up at 4:05. The president this morning nominating Kevin Warsh to serve as the new chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Very smart, very good. Strong, young, pretty young, and I think he's going to do good. I mean, he was the central casting guy that people wanted.
Warsh is a former Fed governor who is widely considered to be a frontrunner to replace Jerome Powell this spring. Finally, some sad news. Actress Catherine O'Hara has passed away, best known for playing Kevin McAllister's mom in Home Alone. She also starred in Beetlejuice and its sequel, Best in Show, and most recently the TV show Schitt's Creek. That's SCHITT''S She was 71 years old and had reportedly been battling cancer. 414-799-1130 if you would like to join the Dan O'Donnell Show on today's foray into broadcast excellence, or at the very least, and let's face it, broadcast competence. You can also email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well. And we are streaming live on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Please do also subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Cold Hard Cash Contest, word this hour, coming up in just a second. We actually had a nationwide winner last night, 5 o'clock p.m. Let's get another winner in just a second. First, I know a lot of you were excited to hear about this. Justice is finally served. The lemon is squeezed. Don Lemon arrested this morning in Los Angeles after a grand jury indicted him on 2 federal charges. The first, a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 241, conspiracy against rights. The second, a violation of what's known as the FACE Act, freedom of access to clinic entrances, 18 U.S. Code Section 248. The allegations are that when Lemon was with a group whose leaders have already been criminally charged, and were almost immediately after that protest a week ago, 2 weeks ago this Sunday, a week from Sunday, a week past Sunday, I should say, that he was actually not just an observer. He was not acting in his capacity as an independent journalist. Remember, Lemon was squeezed out, and yes, I am going to be making lemon puns throughout this segment, so just bear with me here. It's not as sour as you might think. Okay, I'll stop for now. Lemon was let go from CNN, and he started his own podcast, and he's sort of been along the fringes of left-wing independent media alongside his buddy Brian Stelter. You also have the one crazy guy from MSNBC. Yeah, I know that's not really narrowing it down. One of the most left-wing hacks, not John Roberts. He's fantastic. He's over on Fox News. Really wonderful guy. John, whatever his name is. But all of these guys who have just basically been blown out of liberal media over the last year or so, 2 years, have gone into independent journalism. And Lemon maintained that he was merely covering this protest, which turned into an invasion of the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, because one of the associate pastors there also happens to be a top commander in ICE in the Twin Cities. Now, before this protest went on, Lemon joined up with the group and admitted to having foreknowledge of exactly what it was going to do, indicating that he wasn't just a journalist who was showing up to cover this event, that he actually knew what was going to go on.
These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up, and it's Sakima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where.
Okay, so it's a surprise operation. He knows where. He's also using language. We're going to do that. We are going to surprise people and hold them to account. So random kids trying to go to Sunday service. Now, while the group stormed the church, Lemon was not merely a passive observer. When you are actually covering an event, and I have covered, I don't even know how many different live events. You do not inject yourself into the middle of it. You do not start spitting out the talking points of, say, the protest group that you're covering. You are merely videotaping what's going on, maybe talking to people who are involved in this, trying to get live reactions, but there is a clear delineation between media coverage of an event and active participation. Lemon was rather obviously an active participant, as he made abundantly clear in his own recordings, even going up to the pastor, not the pastor who is one of the commanders of ICE, but the pastor who happened to be saying that day's Sunday service, and started getting in his face.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus, because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world, is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Don, I'm sorry. There also is a freedom to exercise religion. And in fact, one of the charges that Lemon now faces, conspiracy against rights, makes the case that what he did, the indictment against him makes the case that what he did was use what was not freedom of assembly or freedom of speech, but rather a conspiracy to deprive all of the people inside that church of their right to freely exercise their religion. The relevant part of this statute: if two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. The question then becomes, did Don Lemon conspire with the other leaders of this church invasion to deprive people of their constitutional right to freely exercise their religion? Well, once again, Lemon, in his own videos of the event, confirms that, yes, he absolutely was there to deprive people of their right to freely exercise, to be at Sunday service free from interruption. He says, well, yes, we were there to make people uncomfortable. He says this himself.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt. It's to make uncomfortable.
The whole point is to disrupt. It's to make uncomfortable. He said the intentions of the group that he was a part of right there. He was intending to disrupt. He was intending to make uncomfortable the people who were engaged in the free exercise of a right granted to them by God himself and enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. He just admitted a conspiracy to deprive those people of their rights. By the way, he is absolutely wrong. There are, in fact, time, manner, and place restrictions on protests. You are not allowed to protest wherever you damn well please. You cannot simply go into a church. You simply can't go into, say, this radio station because you don't like what I'm saying and try to shout me down. We can arrest you for trespassing. We can arrest you for attempting to verbally or physically assault your humble host. There are all manner of restrictions. You need to get a permit for most large-scale organized protests. Not only did Lemon admit during the event that he was far more from simply a passive observer who was there to document the invasion of this church, the day after, when he first started getting heat, when he started getting a whole lot of pushback saying, hey, wait a second, why is Don Lemon leading a group of crazies into a church? And by the way, that church service did absolutely disband. A lot of people, I think, have seen the video of the little kid in the pew crying, the parents trying to console them because they're terrified that there is a large group of psychopaths screaming at the pastor in what's supposed to be a safe place for all, a sanctuary, if you will, inside a place of worship. Afterwards, he goes on the Jennifer Welch podcast. Now, Jennifer Welch is a former reality show star, I guess. She looks like she has had all the Botox and all the high colonics in Los Angeles. And she is, I've referred to her as the final boss of the liberal wine ants. Like, once you defeat all of the liberal wine ants in America, you have to face Jennifer Welch. She is truly the most awful of the awfuls, AWFL. Affluent white female liberals. Listen to what Lemon says a day after this event, again confirming that, yes, he was there to conspire to deprive people of their rights, and yes, he was absolutely trying to deny people access to a religious institution.
There's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
No, it's because you were filming yourself leading people in. You were filming yourself conspiring. And at one point, before the group went in, Lemon actually said, I've got to turn the camera off now because they're talking about tactics and I can't share that with my live stream audience. So clearly, he was conspiring with this group. He knew what they were up to beforehand. He led them in. He was actively participating in this intimidation event. And he admitted yet again, he was denying access to a religious institution. The FACE Act, F-A-C-E, Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances. It was passed in the mid-1990s, and it was, as you might imagine, it was a left-wing law designed to stop people from blocking the entrance to abortion clinics. It's codified under 18 U.S. Code 248. Well, in order to get that law passed, Republicans said, okay, well, we also need to have protection for left-wing radicals who are going to protest at churches. So that was put into the FACE Act as well. Quote, whoever, by force or threat of force or by physical obstruction, intentionally injures, intimidates, or interferes with, or attempts to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year. Did Don Lemon and his merry group of crazies, through the use of force or physical obstruction, intentionally intimidate or interfere with all of the people inside that church trying to exercise their right of religious freedom inside a place of religious worship. They most certainly did. Case closed. The charges are warranted. And frankly, because of Lemon's own video, the evidence is overwhelming that he was not merely a passive observer or journalist. He was a leader of this protest movement. He was actively taking part, and he intended to deprive all of those people of their rights to freely exercise their religion because, as he put it repeatedly, they don't have a right to simply be safe and be secure while ICE is out there killing people on the streets of the Twin Cities. When we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, an exclusive story. The Democratic Party of Wisconsin calls ICE agents and other federal law enforcement execution squads.
Hard to believe how quickly we've reached a new year. We've seen lots of changes during the past year, but at the Sawmill Restaurant and Pub in Richfield, some things never change, like the relaxing atmosphere, friendly staff, and the fantastic food. Check out the menu at sawmill-n.com.
Hey, it's Vicki McKenna for Byrna, the compact kinetic self-defense tool I've been talking a lot about. Forbes just listed Byrna as one of the most successful small companies in America. And Byrna is successful for one reason. They make personal safety products for real people and real-world situations. And Byrna is an American company. All the launchers are proudly hand-assembled in the United States in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And as the world leader in less lethal personal defense, Byrna creates launchers for everyone in the family. The newest Byrna Compact is so small it will fit in your pocket or your purse. But you know, it's powerful enough to deliver real stopping power even at a distance. It's perfect for everyone, especially if you can't or won't get a CCL. Byrna fires potent kinetic and pepper ammo rounds that can disable an attacker for up to 40 minutes. Law enforcement agencies and security companies trust Byrna, and so can you. There are no background checks, no permits, and they're legal everywhere. Visit Byrna.com today to find the right launcher for you. That's BYRNA.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife. And
So I don't
The best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Ben Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G coverage. What? Franklin wasn't even a president. Hang on to those Benjamins. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, to switch to an American wireless company that's truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Wisconsin.
This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Conservative thought, not just talk.
This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Proof that Dan Nation is growing into a truly nationwide movement. Dan Nation, what we effectively call our listener army here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. You want some proof that we are going nationwide here? We had a winner yesterday in the Cold Hard Cash contest listening to us in Hurricane, Utah. Susan, congratulations, listening to us in the 5 o'clock hour. Her entry was picked at random. She won $1,000. Hurricane, Utah. I have never... It's Hurricane? Why did Jerry? Is it spelled hurricane? It's spelled hurricane. Well, that's clearly I have never heard of Hurricane, Utah, because I pronounced it hurricane. What is it near? Do we have any idea? It's near Zion National Park. Okay, I actually do know where that is. But congratulations to Susan. I should get out to Hurricane, Utah. I've always wanted to go to Zion National Park. I heard Utah is one of the most underrated, beautiful states in the entire country. Just pristine wilderness, and I've heard it's just gorgeous. If you would like to win $1,000, just go to our website right now and enter the keyword CHECK, C-H-E-C-K, CHECK. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website. Enter the keyword CHECK. And like Susan from Hurricane, Utah, you could get a hurricane of cash coming your way, $1,000 if your entry is picked at random in the Cold Hard Cash contest. We have heard just some truly insane rhetoric about the ICE operations in Minneapolis. Well, it's entirely possible that the Democratic Party of Wisconsin may have had the single most unhinged statement about any of this. In a fundraising email that was sent out, I believe, yesterday to supporters of WisDems, a letter in the name of Devin Remaker, who is the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, refers to immigration officials as execution squads. It's Devin with WisDems, writes Remaker in an email titled, "Let me peel back the curtain. We must all be clear about what is happening right now in our country. Trump and the GOP command and support execution squads operating outside the law on the streets of American cities. They can come to your community, attack your neighbors, murder you if you dare to question them, and then lie that you were a domestic terrorist that deserved it. We are running out of time to stop it, and every election in 2026 is an emergency. And of course, the way that you can stop Trump and his execution squads is by giving to the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Execution squads who can come to your community, attack your neighbors, murder you if you dare to question them, and lie that you were a domestic terrorist that deserved it. Folks, since this started in Minneapolis and really long before that, since right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, since right after Donald Trump came within 4 millimeters of being assassinated, I have been saying it is precisely rhetoric like this that gives a permission structure, not just a permission structure, but all but makes it the duty of all deranged psychopaths to go out and by any means necessary stop those execution squads. Again, as I've been saying all week, you and I, people of reasonable intelligence and reasonable mental health, can understand that this is just borderline psychopathic, but it's sort of like puffery. It's rhetoric designed to inflame an impassioned response. This is the exact sort of rhetoric that got Renee Good and got Alex Preddy killed. Why? Because they were actually people who believed it, who absorbed it and said, yes, we need to stop the execution squads from coming for our neighbors, from coming for our community, from shooting us in the back. They're going after, as Tim Walz put it, the innocent little Anne Franks of Minneapolis, or, as it were, Anita Francos. When you get borderline mentally unstable people, and I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming that Alex Preddy, based on his behavior on January 13th, where he spits on a law enforcement vehicle and then actually kicks its tail light out before, and he's armed while he's doing this, by the way. He has a gun on his person. He's tackled by 5 ICE agents. It takes 5 law enforcement officers. He's so violent that it takes 5 to eventually subdue him. Why he wasn't in the Huskow instead of right back out on the streets, well, you'll have to ask. Local prosecutors, who I'm willing to wager are not actually locking any of these people up, but it might have actually saved his life. These are the people who internalize this sort of rhetoric, and they say, yes, we must do what we can to try to stop. This isn't, hey, you know, we support the arresting and deportation of child sex criminals and murderers and all of the worst people in this country who have no right to be here. We support justice coming for them. We just believe that ICE needs to be more responsible. They're not saying that. They're saying ICE is a bunch of Nazis. ICE is going to kill you if given half the chance. What is somebody supposed to conclude? If you truly believe this stuff, you're supposed to conclude that, hey, it's my duty. I need to fight back. I need to do what I can to try to stop these people. Hey, speaking of comparing ICE to Nazis over and over and over again, Whitefish Bay High School responds to our reporting about a swastika sign that made its way into the protest there a couple of days ago, the student walkout. It seems like they're pretty okay with it. That story coming up next.
Update your presets in your car for Milwaukee's newest station, B97.3. The best of the 80s to today to help you feel good. B93.3 has moved and is now B97.3. Whether you're in the car or on the go, stream B97.3 anytime with the free iHeartRadio app.
Here's why. I'm attorney Keith Trower of Warshevsky. You don't ever want a multi-million-dollar injury. If you're seriously injured and represented by a sign and settle firm, insurance companies are in the driver's seat, and your multi-million-dollar injury may be reduced to a multi-thousand-dollar injury.
I'm Ken.
Ken, are you an actor or are you a football player?
No, real person permanently injured by a fraud-committing doctor who operated on the wrong side of my back, making pain and numbness far worse and permanent. I had to hire someone else because the first law firm I went to turned me away. That was a lucky day because I hired Warshevsky instead.
Warshevsky's elite investigators, trial attorneys, and legal experts will prepare your case to win at trial from day one.
Insurance companies value your claim based on the quality of your attorney. My $2.9 million settlement proves insurance companies respect and fear Warshevsky at trial.
Injured? It is about the money. Warshevsky.com, 414-276-4970.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. It's true, there's nothing quite like the scent of freshly steam-cleaned, worn carpet other than a wet dog or cat's litter box. However, Flawless's customer satisfaction-driven, unprecedented growth pinched the Milwaukee metro flooring industry to the point major carpet companies are no more. We've added quality carpeting lines, becoming your true one-stop flooring shop. Flawless Flooring's New Berlin and Delafield showrooms feature virtually unheard of in the flooring industry, upfront, accurate pricing, including installation on every display. Know how much carpet, LVP, or modded laminate flooring you need? You can calculate exact pricing as you shop. Want to expand your existing hardwood flooring? Flawless's employee-only craftsmen strip existing flooring, install new hardwood, then finish old and new together for a perfect, looks all original floor. Lock in purchasing power of today's dollars for money you'll earn up to 21 months from now with Flawless's no money down, zero interest financing. Sensory under load, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com. That's FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
At Ross Dental, your journey to smiling like you just don't care because you don't isn't paved with anxiety, discomfort, or judgment. People should be judged by the content of their character, not the straightness, color, or condition of their smile. No matter how much restoration required, Ross Dental's gentle, caring staff won't judge you. Ross Dental does cutting-edge laser dentistry, maximizing patient comfort and health. Laser removal of tooth decay requires 0 shots. For almost everyone, it's painless. Procedures are faster, no numb mouth, 0 shots. Smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com. Lasers don't churn up infected tissue. They kill bacteria, fungus, even viruses, dramatically reducing infection-spreading bioaerosols old technology drills cause. Laser dentistry is ideal for cavity treatment, and less collateral tissue damage treating gum disease or canker sores speeds up recovery. Ross Dental's convenient payment options, low, even no radiation imagery, and sedation dentistry eliminate every reason to neglect your teeth. Schedule your cleaning or cosmetic assessment today, and soon you'll smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com.
The path to the Bay is officially locked in. A rematch of New England and Seattle. And iHeartRadio has your complete football coverage. Dive deep into early takes with the official NFL Podcast Network.
Welcome to NFL Daily.
And go live with Fox Sports Radio to join the conversation.
The 2 best road teams in the NFL.
Plus, iHeart is the home of the Super Bowl 60 tailgate concert presented by NetApp. Just open the iHeartRadio app and search NFL to dive in.
Call Callan to remodel your kitchen or bathroom or to replace windows and doors. Callan. Design, build, live. Call 414-529-5509. Visit callcallan.com or stop at its Muskego Design Center.
Lifting your kids, typing your next big idea, squeezing it around a golf. You use your shoulders, elbows, wrists, and hands to do it all. But when pain slows you down, the specialists at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin are here to help. Hey, it's Drew Olson from the Drew and KB Show. If you've reached your limit, if you're tired of the pain, if you want to change, your first call should be to the team at OAW to see what in the world is going on. It'll be the best decision you've ever made. Their fellowship-trained upper extremity surgeons treat shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand issues with compassionate care, advanced techniques, and a focus on lasting recovery. Whether you're an athlete, a worker, or just want to enjoy a day without pain, start with the team that puts patients first. Their expert upper extremity surgeons offer personalized treatment plans to restore your strength and movement. All the information that you need to book your appointment can be found at orthowisconsin.com. That's orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell, for my friends at Current Electric, they'd like to thank Southeast Wisconsin for making them the #1 choice in same-day electrical services. Do you know the reason so many people choose Current Electric? It's trust. And it's that simple. People trust the Current Electric electricians that come into their homes and perform same-day electrical service and repairs and have for over 40 years. Give the superheroes from Current Electric a chance to earn your trust. You won't be sorry. Go to callcurrent.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
1 call, that's all.
Wisconsin Badger basketball.
Blackwell for 3, left side. Hit it! Blackwell strikes again.
Ohio State comes to town Saturday afternoon. Coverage starts at 12:30 on Fox Sports 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
Does anyone in City of Milwaukee government understand state law? It sure seems like they don't. One of the most incredible self-owns in recent memory. Do you remember when they hired a convicted murderer to head up what used to be called the Office of Violence Prevention, Adam Procell? He is out just a couple of months after taking the job. I vehemently oppose the idea. Look, I think Procell is a decent human being, despite, the whole murdering thing. He is rehabilitated, and his message is very powerful. He takes full accountability for what he did when he was a gangbanger decades ago. But it sends the exact wrong message. It's no longer called the Office of Violence Prevention, and I am convinced it's because people like me and Jay Weber and Mark Belling always pointed out that since its inception, like 20 years ago, violence has increased exponentially. The Office of Violence Prevention did the exact opposite of its mission. It prevented absolutely no violence. So they changed the name, and we're going to get into this in the 4 o'clock hour, probably about 4:25-ish after the daily Trump date, and some more census numbers that point to just a seismic shift in political power in this country away from Democrat states and toward Republican states that I think is going to have a profound impact for the next decade plus. We will get into all of that coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Yesterday, we reported exclusively here on the Dan O'Donnell Show that a student at Whitefish Bay High School held up a sign that had a swastika on it because this was, of course, during an anti-ICE protest. And as I reported yesterday, I had no idea that the sign somehow snuck into the back of a group picture that the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel posted on its Instagram. An eagle-eyed listener pointed this out to me and said, "Hey, Dan, do you see the swastika back there?" I said, "Sure do. Let's figure out what's going on." I said, okay, the likeliest explanation is that this kid is trying to compare ICE to the Nazis. It might have been, a trolling thing by, a pro-ICE student try to undermine the message. Well, the district has apparently looked into this and concluded, yes, this was an anti-ICE message. According to the superintendent, Dr. Jamie Feckler, I'm going to go with Feckler because all I can think of with Fockler would be Gaylord Fokker from Meet the Parents. The sign, according to Dr. Fokker, is difference, swastika, I think not. As Dr. Fockler says, the district investigated the image immediately upon discovery, enabling a full review of the sign and the context in which it was used. The district has learned that the student's message was intended as a political critique of government policy, specifically the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. The full text of the sign, which was not clearly visible in the initial photo, read, "Difference, swastika, I think not." We believe in the importance of student voice and the development of the whole student, and we also recognize that the use of such a symbol has a profound impact. Even when used as a comparison, its presence can undermine the inclusive and respectful environment we strive to maintain for our entire community. So is the student therefore going to be punished? All Dr. Feckler would say is the district is handling this matter in accordance with board policy and our dedication to fostering a respectful and inclusive school community. To be very clear, the Whitefish Bay School District promotes an educational environment free from discrimination, harassment, and hate, where all students, staff, and community members, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, language, ability, sexual orientation, family background, and/or family income, are respected and honored, except for the Jews. Sincerely, Dr. Jamie Feckler. I made that last part up. I'm kidding. Whitefish Bay, though, is one of the most heavily Jewish communities in all of Wisconsin. And the fact that they're just throwing up swastikas at the local high school, I think is a little disturbing. Now, the text of the letter to parents seems to imply that the student is going to, at the very least, get some sort of punishment. So if a conservative student, let's just take this argument here. Let's say it's 6 years ago. And a conservative student walks out in protest of mask restrictions, let's say, and holds up a sign implying that forcing students to get vaccinated, forcing students to wear masks, that's just like the Nazis. And they held up a sign that said, "Difference, swastika, I think not." They could even put a little mask on the swastika. Would that be treated the same way? It very well could be. And I understand the Whitefish School District is bound by federal law. They can't release student disciplinary punishment. It's treated much like juvenile justice records. It's just very difficult because you don't want something some kid did when they're 14 years old to follow them around the entire world. And frankly, this is a dumb kid. But when you got the Democrat Party of Wisconsin putting out fundraising emails calling ICE execution squads and saying they're going to come into your house and they're going to kill everybody you care about. Seriously, if you're just joining us, go to my social media. I do have, by the way, the letter that Whitefish Bay sent to parents and community members, as well as the fundraising email from the Democrats. They say ICE is an execution squad. Trump is running an execution squad that can shoot you in the back and then lie about you and say you were a terrorist who deserved it. This is truly unhinged stuff. So when you've got this coming from the leaders of this community, and Whitefish Bay is very, very liberal. The Whitefish Bay School, I dare say there is not a right-winger at any level of the Whitefish Bay educational bureaucracy. I'm just taking a wild guess there. When you've got that coming, I want you to do a little bit of introspection, Whitefish Bay. When you've got all of this coming from people who your kids are looking up to as role models and leaders in your country and in your community, and they're constantly calling their political opponents Nazis and saying that the MAGA hat is just like the swastika, is it any real surprise that the kids are echoing, they're mimicking that same language? So don't retreat to the fainting couch and, oh, this language is unacceptable in our church. You use this language. All of you people use it constantly. How do I know? Because my listeners send me your Facebook posts. Hell, you should see my Facebook DM. I have been called a Nazi probably 35 times this week. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, it's one of those left-wing crazies, the unhinged liberal of the day. Stay tuned. Dan O'Donnell Show's back in a flash.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford Total Traffic Center.
Northbound 43 crash at Good Hope, block in the right lane. Your southbound lanes at Brown Deer, a crash off to the left shoulder. Also got a crash on the right shoulder in the westbound lanes of Greenfield at the 894 ramp. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle from Blindster. I started Blindster in my garage back in 2010. Since then, we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Our blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Dan Voss from Cut and Go here. Spring of 1917, just 14 years after the Wright brothers' first flight, America, determined to darken the skies over Europe with 12,000 combat aircraft, set about crafting 100 million board feet of Pacific Northwest Sitka spruce lumber.
Sonny Voss here. The rest is history. American ingenuity, determination, and might rescued humanity from tyranny. Dad harnessed American ingenuity, developing the remote control, truck-mounted articulated grapple saw Cut and Go uses to safely dominate landscapes.
Grind and Go is committed to your property being eyesore and trip hazard free. Cut and Go will take down dead trees for you to parse into firewood or chip for you to spread, or we can take with us.
Plans and Go designs historic treescapes, delivers and plants in time for you to celebrate your freedom this year.
Happy 250th anniversary. A Tons of Trees movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Dan Voss from Cut and Go here.
A tree planted in 1646 was instrumental to freedom you enjoy today.
For a decade, Sons of Liberty, including Paul Revere, Samuel Adams, and John Hancock, gathered under the Liberty Tree for meetings, speeches, and celebrations.
I'm Willow Voss. Makes me wonder what the historical significance trees Plant and Go plants might have hundreds of years from now.
If our oppressors didn't cut the Liberty Tree down, Cut and Go would meticulously manicure it for America's 250th anniversary. Cut and Go's remote-controlled truck truck-mounted articulated grapple saw operators will meticulously manicure your trees, removing damaged branches, limbs, even whole trees, getting your property ready to celebrate God's gift, America. Grind and Go removes eyesore trip hazard stumps, and Plant and Go will implement a maximum beauty and benefit new, potentially historic tree planting plan.
Happy 250th anniversary at Tons of Trees movement. CUTNGOtrees.com. That's cutandgotrees.com.
Once again, it's This Week with Annex Wealth Management. Dan O'Donnell alongside Annex's Dr. Brian Jacobson. And Brian, we are just starting earnings season yet again. We also have some serious questions about what the Federal Reserve is going to do with respect to interest rates. Obviously, there is unrest here at home. There are some questions about foreign policy abroad. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, there's no shortage of things for us to really be watching. I think that really what the markets are going to be focused on this week. Federal Reserve, we know that the Fed is not likely going to be cutting rates at this meeting, but what sort of questions will Chair Powell get about whether or not he plans on sticking around, even if he's no longer going to be the chair of the Federal Reserve? His term as a governor isn't up until January 2028. So is he going to stick around, or is he going to go into private equity or do something else like that in retirement? And then we have earnings season. Wednesday, after the bell, we get the earnings from Microsoft, Meta, also Tesla. We're curious about the profitability of those firms. Are companies still just spending money hand over fist? And then on Thursday, we get Apple. So it's a big week for the markets. Plenty of things to look at, a lot to focus on.
And if that wasn't enough, we also have the possibility of a government shutdown over ICE funding at the end of the week coming up on Friday. Suffice it to say, there is a whole lot that can impact markets. And for you, there's a whole lot that can impact your bottom line. And it's not just this week, it's every week. That's why you need to know what it is that's in your portfolio and why you own it. You need to be working with someone who's working with and for you as a fee-only fiduciary, and you can find them at annexwealth.com. For Brian Jacobson, he is the chief economist at Annex. I'm Dan O'Donnell. Thanks so much for listening to This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
Style and substance.
Downham Homes.
This new year is greeted with a dynamic new lineup on News Talk 1130 WISN. Starting January 2nd, Benjamin Yount moves his big boy radio experience to early mornings 6 to 9. Then Jason Gotch offers fresh insight and unique perspective from 9 to 11. After that, it's your other WISN favorites, Clay and Buck, Vicki McKenna, and Dan O'Donnell, all in their usual slots. It's one of the most powerful talk radio lineups in America, only on News Talk 1130 WISN.
Ladies and gentlemen, even amongst woke left-wingers, capitalism always, and I mean always, wins. Are you familiar with Stone Creek Coffee? Stone Creek Coffee is they're a woke coffee outfit. They've got a number of locations in and around Milwaukee. I don't know if they're farther statewide, but they're primarily a Milwaukee company. They posted on Facebook today that our cafes are safe spaces. Over the next few days, all Stone Creek Coffee locations will post clear notice stating private property. This business does not consent to immigration enforcement activities without a judicial warrant. We are also training our team through a dedicated learning portal so they understand their rights. We're committing $25,000 to an immigration bond fund. Now, what are they not doing? In solidarity with all of the people who are trying to shut down the country? Eric Rush, founder and managing director of Stone Creek Coffee, puts a P.S. on this virtue signaling Facebook post. P.S. We are not closing our cafes. We believe we can do more good by staying open, by keeping our spaces available for connection, care, and community. Oh, yeah, of course you are. You want that sweet, sweet coffee revenue, Eric. You couldn't bring yourself to shut down your your locations in solidarity with the nationwide shutdown. Just admit it, even for a left-winger like you. Say it with me. Capitalism always wins.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
Does that make me crazy?
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
America is over.
Okay, before we name our unhinged liberal of the day, you've got to read more of this pap from Stone Creek Coffee. At Stone Creek, our North Star is simple. We exist to craft and care for authentic human connection. That belief has to show up in how we operate, not just what we say. We're not closing our cafes, though, not on National Shutdown Day, because we want to make money. We think we can do more by staying open. I'll bet. What an absolute phony. Down with the cause. Just, not when his profits would go down along with it. Today's unhinged liberal of the day, boy, we haven't heard from him in a while. I'm not sure if he's still on MS Now. And by the way, since MSNBC became MS Now, 6 months ago or so, have you heard anything from any of their shows? It's like they just disappeared off the face of the earth. Honest to goodness. And I'm someone who gets inundated every single day with radical crazies saying radical crazy things on television. It has been months since I've seen a clip from MS Now. Today's unhinged liberal, though, is apparently a frequent contributor to MS Now. At least he used to be. Elie Mystal. You know him. He's the dude who has the crazy white hair. It's sort of like Albert Einstein meets Troll Doll. And he said the arrest of Don Lemon is, yes, just like slavery.
It is an expression of white supremacy. And so when I look for constitutional justification for these arrests, it's obviously not in the Constitution. It's obviously not in the Constitution anymore. Because there was something in the original Constitution that would have allowed them to arrest a black journalist like Don Lemon. And that was called the Fugitive Slave Clause in Article 4 of the original Constitution, which allowed the government to reclaim escaped property should that property have successfully made it to a free state.
Oh, God. I just thought of something horrible. Was CNN owning Don Lemon as a slave? Did he run off? Because they said he was fired. Was he actually enslaved by Jeff Zucker and CNN? This is a very horrifying thought. The Fugitive Slave Act? Ironically enough, he was actually charged with the same thing that they used to charge KKK members. It has nothing to do with the Fugitive Slave Act. It has everything to do with deprivation of another's civil rights. Here, i.e., the right to freely exercise religion. Elie Mystal, of course, your unhinged liberal of the day. Coming up after the top of the hour in the Daily Trump Date, one of the cooler announcements that I have heard in quite some time. I'm not even a big Formula One or IndyCar fan, or really car racing fan in general. I don't know. I just never grew up watching it, Daytona 500 and that sort of thing. But President Trump's announcement that there is going to be a Grand Prix for IndyCar through the streets of Washington, D.C. this summer to coincide with the 250th birthday of America, that was just very, very cool. They're partnering with Roger Penske and Penske Motorsports. We're going to get you updated on that. Plus, the president names a new nominee for Federal Reserve Chairman, and also new census data. The full census data for 2025 is out, and we can see what states people left and what states people are moving to. And it shouldn't surprise you, red states are the top targets of people attempting to flee blue ones.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Milwaukee, an iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Michaels. There were major backups and delays after an accident earlier this morning on I-94 eastbound near the Waukesha-Milwaukee County line. It's believed the weather was a contributing factor in the cause of the accident. Police are still investigating who fired shots into homes in both the city of Waukesha and New Berlin last weekend.
Waukesha police say multiple people reported hearing gunshots near River Valley Road Saturday. The gunfire hit 3 homes in the area, and then roughly 5 hours later, police responded to gunfire in New Berlin that hit a home on Greenfield Avenue. That same home was hit again less than 24 hours later.
Fox 6's Carl Dethenbaugh. While President Trump has made his choice to lead the Federal Reserve, Senate confirmation remains in question.
President Trump says he never asked Kevin Warsh to lower interest rates before naming him as his nominee to lead the Federal Reserve.
I don't want to ask him that question. I think it's inappropriate, probably. It probably would be allowed, but I want to keep it nice and pure.
The president calls Warsh the perfect candidate.
Top student, best schools, everything was like perfect. The youngest person ever to serve on the Fed. Got the whole package.
But Warsh's nomination to succeed current Chairman Jerome Powell is facing trouble. Republican Senator Tom Tillis, a member of the Banking Committee, says he'll block any nominee until the Justice Department ends its investigation of Powell. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Checking the Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard, Admirals go for their 4th straight win tonight. They're in Iowa to play the Wild. Puck drops at 7. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Drying out tonight with temperatures falling into the single digits and wind chills just below 0. Partly to mostly cloudy on Saturday with flurries possible lakeside. Temperatures finally reach into the 20s. Light snow returns Sunday night into Monday morning. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Academic Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
Don't settle for a flimsy bank pre-approval. Get the pre-approval listing agents and sellers recognized as better than the rest. The rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet. Get yours by clicking on the blue button at accunet.com.
You ever have a slow shower drain where the water rises until you're standing in a murky, bubbly, hairy...
I got it, and thank you for painting that vivid picture of the ankle soup.
Yeah, up to your ankles, and you're tempted to pour all that goop that smells like industrial citrus down the drain.
Which could wreck your pipes. Why not call Capital instead? For only $49, Capital will send out a pro and get your drain flowing.
Stop living with a clog and start living with the flow. Call Capital today.
Call CapitalTears.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ETHOS.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Ben Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G coverage. What? Franklin wasn't even a president. Hang on to those Benjamins. Dial pound 250, say micro, and save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to an American wireless company that's truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
David Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring, recommending iNet for web development and SEO.
That's all?
And graphic design, photography, and video.
That's more like it, Dave. Flawless installed luxury vinyl at 3 properties I own, including iNet. The 8 separate projects were easy, turned out beautiful, exceptional value, and are extremely durable.
But wait, there's more. iNet's creative genius branding and radio gives Flawless a unique identity, making us stand out. Hiring iNet is casting a net that pulls in customers your business wants and needs.
Clever, Dave. Haha. You just might have a future in radio ad writing.
My future is secure in flooring, partially because we cast our iNet 5 years ago.
Having Flawless replace pet stain and stink-saturated carpet is a smell and sight upgrade, making every day more beautiful and less gross. Flawless Flooring, LLC.com.
Having iNet replace underperforming web, radio, any marketing enhances business opportunity for profitable growth. iNet-web.com. CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
WISN. Big taxers, big spenders, political cronies, global warming alarmists, charlatans, liars, scam artists, and feeders at the public trough. The threats to your happiness are many, but that's where we can help. News Talk 1130 WISN. Our truth shall keep you free.
Your clear choice for more. Lisbon Store, screen and door.
It's a Friday afternoon. A whole lot of you, I think, are already off. I've been actually wondering this. Producer Doug is chilling with me, and I don't know if there's any study of this, but it's just something I've noticed. The 9 to 5 is essentially dead. I dare say 75 to 80% of people who have a set schedule and who work a traditional office job, it's 8 to 4 or 8 to 4:30, right? I don't know anybody who gets off at 5 o'clock. I'm the only human being who gets off at 6 o'clock. Doug and I are going to be the only people. In fact, I have been keeping track. Save for the wonderful family that comes and cleans the building every couple of days, I am I am always the last person to leave iHeartMedia Milwaukee. And I'm realizing now that I should probably not say that, because there's going to be some leftist psychopath who's going to go, oh, Dan's by himself. I can take him out. Please do not take me out. I would very much appreciate not being taken out. Also, I'm a pretty quick draw. No. The reality is, and I've been... Folks, I know I make fun of the crazy, unhinged messages that I get. I think I've made an executive decision. I'm not sure if I'm able to turn off Facebook messages for people who don't actually follow the @Dan-O'Donnell Show official Facebook page, but I have gotten, I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5 death threats just over the last week and a half. I've had a number of posts go viral. There was one that got shared, boy, oh boy, 15, 20,000 times. The views on it were in the millions. And that just brought a whole ton of insane people to my page. And the reality is, when you hear things like the Democrat Party saying ICE is an execution squad, and they very casually say people like me who merely disagree with them and who merely point out that their point of view is wrong, that we are like Nazis. I am a Nazi bootlicker. Well, what do you think that does? What do you think that does to somebody who thinks they can do the world a great service by taking out the Nazi bootlicker? I mean, I hate to admit it, but it is. So I make fun of these people. We do the silly thing, the most intelligent message Dan has gotten all day, where we play. That's Vivaldi, by the way. That's the Four Seasons. I believe that's fall, one of the Four Seasons, and maybe it's spring. I'm cultured up to a point. I'm quasi-cultured. It's one of the four seasons. I don't know. But, and, I read it in, like a pretentious, snotty British accent, and it's just the most vile stuff. But it does, you can tell it comes in cycles. When your average run-of-the-mill leftist goon is just totally riled up and totally angry. I mean, I hesitate to, read one of the worst ones I've gotten. At this point, my wife is going to be, if she's listening to the show, she's going to be frantically telling me not to get these people any ideas. But I feel like people should know. Like, I truly feel like people should know. Like, it's, obviously I understand. And, I was at my dad's last night, and he was similarly, I read him one of the death threats. I want to see your wife raped. I want to see your children murdered in front of you, just like Alex Pretty was murdered. I mean, this is just ugly stuff. And of course, as my father, he's, getting ticked off. And I said, Dad, that's sort of the price. That's the price of success in this business. It's the price of, actually making a difference and being influential in this business. You do deal with crazies. But it's like, I feel like people, and our friend Jessica McBride does a good job of, posting some of the truly awful messages that she gets. And I'm assuming she gets it way worse even than I do, being a woman. You get the violent rape threats and things like that. Thankfully, I think I'm too ugly for the leftists to want to rape, so that's probably a good thing. But it is, I mean, it gives you a sense in a very real, visceral way just how, well, truly, I mean, unhinged people are. And again, we do the unhinged liberal of the day, and it's all funny, ha-ha, silly, look at how crazy these people are. But there is a bigger than you would think segment of the American Democrat Party, or people who broadly align with the political left, who are just nuts, who are, they do have a screw loose. And yes, I'm not going to deny that I do worry sometimes. And I do appreciate, especially in the wake of Charlie's assassination, I must have had, I'm not even kidding you, Doug, I must have had at least 20 dudes in our listening audience saying, hey, Dan, I've got, I'm a retired law enforcement officer. Hey, Dan, I run a small security company. I'd be honored. We'll defend you. We'll be your bodyguards for free. I'm like, guys, I love that. I don't think I'm quite that important, but I'll be damned if I don't get, and like, just if you think like words, like what the Democrat Party is saying, like what things like the left is saying about President Trump, even. We'll get to the daily Trump date in just a second, but I think there's something a little bit more profound here. And I'm not saying anything that any conservative in the public view has not experienced. Some years ago, Scott Walker shared with me some of the messages that he got. And, ooh, I'm getting off easy compared to Scott. But people need to know, and I suspect Democrats, I suspect a good number of them are totally fine with it, with putting people like me in the crosshairs. I suspect they're completely fine. Imagine if I said, Devin Reminger is the chairman of the Democrat Party. Imagine if I was saying, Devin Reminger will kill you and your family if you don't stop him. He runs execution squads. He's got some chud by the name of Philip Schulman, who is his comms director. And he's the one who almost certainly wrote this email, because he responded very, very angrily when I called him out on it on social media. If I said he will dispatch Kevin Schulman to gun down your family in their sleep, you would say, wow, Dan, that's super irresponsible. Dan, that's really crazy. But they say this sort of stuff like it's rote to them. It's It's another Friday. This is just how we talk. This is just what we say about our political opponents. How about this? How about this? How about this? We'll get to the release of the new Epstein files. 3 million more pages just released. Do you realize lefties are keying in on one where a dude made allegations that President Trump pressured someone to rape an underage girl? Not only was this tip deemed not credible, the guy had multiple psych evaluations. This is a crazy guy. And of course, Democrats are like, see? Trump's into Epstein files. He's raping little girls. Dan O'Donnell's a child rapist. It's like they say this without ever actually thinking it through. You know, I don't know. I'd sue him for defamation, but there's a phrase in the law called drawing blood from a turnip. I suffice it to say, if I got a judgment, it wouldn't be worth a whole heck of a lot of money. Cold Hard Cash Contest word this hour. Happy, Happy. You have got until 4:55 to go to our website, enter the keyword happy to enter the contest for this hour. Now, in spite of all of that, of course I'm happy. I'm actually happier than I have been in a long time. You know, the country's going great. My job is going great. We're taking dangerous criminals off the streets on a daily basis. You know, drug dealers, murderers, Don Lemon.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Trump just keeps winning.
It is a win for the administration.
It's also a big win for the United States.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Time for your daily Trump Date. President Trump nominating Kevin Warsh to succeed Jerome Powell as the nation's next Federal Reserve Chairman.
I wanted to keep Kevin here, and I thought that I called Kevin 1, Kevin 2. And we have, I said, it's going to be a Kevin. But, you know, Kevin really has been fantastic at the White House. You all know him. You know him very well.
The other Kevin, of course, Kevin Hassett. Jerome Powell's term as board chairman expires this spring. It is still an open question as to whether or not he is going to stay on as a board governor. Kevin One, the nominee for Federal Reserve Chairman. Kevin Warsh is a former Fed board governor himself. Very, very well-respected economist. The only opposition to him is, of course, going to be political, which means every single Democrat in the Senate is going to vote against him. The president also making a big announcement about America's 250th birthday party this summer.
We're celebrating greatness with American motor racing. That's going to be the name of the event. It's going to take place on August 21st through the 23rd, and it's going to be so exciting.
It is going to be a Grand Prix through the streets of Washington, D.C. for the first time in something like 225 years. Here's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
The president gave us all a directive, which I'm grateful for. We're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday, and he asked all of us to think outside the box. How do we make this historic and cool, and let's all do this together? And he loves the country and loves the birthday, and so we at DOT were working on this concept. We didn't know at the same time Penske was working on the same project too. And so we've come together, and Doug has been a wonderful partner. But to think 190 miles an hour down Pennsylvania Avenue, this is going to be wild. The last time we had a race in the capital city, Bud, was when?
1801, Thomas Jefferson with a horse race.
A horse race in 1801, Mr. President. Now we're going to do a real race.
That's so great. That's such a good.
It does sound like an incredibly, incredibly cool thing. Roger Penske, the founder and owner of Penske Motorsports, partnering with the White House on this.
This is a really amazing time for us as a company to support the 250th anniversary for the country. And there's no better way for us to bring automotive and speed into the D.C. area.
In other news today, the Department of Justice didn't just charge Don Lemon. Attorney General Pam Bondi making that announcement this morning. Lemon was charged in Los Angeles, or rather he was arrested in Los Angeles, where he was to cover the Grammys, which are set for this Sunday. The Justice Department also released millions of pages from the Epstein files, which had been previously redacted or kept from public view. There's really nothing all that earth-shattering. The biggest revelation is an email, and I sort of have to PG this up a little bit, from Epstein himself, in which he is talking about Bill Gates needing to get some ointment or something to secretly slip Melinda, his former wife, because Bill was worried that he had given an STD to Melinda that he got from a, quote, Russian girl. Ew. Now, liberals, as I said, are all hot to trot over allegations that were made about President Trump supposedly arranging the rape of an underage girl. This was made by someone who the FBI didn't just determine to be not credible. They actually ordered a psych evaluation, multiple psych evaluations for this person. They are crazy. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, speaking of crimes against children, like actual ones, outlined all of the successes the Trump administration has had in combating crimes against children, particularly by drug traffickers and illegal aliens led into the country under the Biden administration.
Just last year, the FBI located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation. The Department of Justice found and terminated 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts. In August, we charged 11 defendants for extensive sex trafficking in Los Angeles of illegal immigrants and underage women. Last month, we charged 5 men who were engaged in a sadistic sextortion network of deranged young men abusing women. Over the past several months, last summer and into the fall, we executed Operation Restore Justice, rescuing 205 child victims and arresting 293 offenders.
So weird that this is probably the first you've ever heard any of that. And liberals don't seem to care much about it, even though they profess to be such staunch defenders of, you know, they hate child sex trafficking, that sort of thing. Just remember, they didn't say anything about this, and they called Republicans crazy conspiracy theorists in 2019 when the popular phrase was Epstein didn't kill himself. Now, all of a sudden, ever since July of this past year, when they thought they could weaponize the Epstein files against Trump, now all of a sudden they care. But the actual child sex trafficking, you won't hear them say boo about. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Going to take a quick break. Back before you know it. Stay tuned.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Typical Abbey roadwork delays, 94 westbound between 16th and Hawley, and then eastbound between 84th and Hawley. 894 westbound tightens up at the Mitchell interchange, clears up west of 60th Street. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Super Sure.
Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Super Sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Super Sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super Sure, coming soon.
Hey, it's Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass. I've been saying for years that Mander is your best decision after a collision, and here's why. My son was in a very minor fender bender during a snowstorm, and both he and the other driver, who happened to be a loyal listener, took their vehicles to Mander. The parts were ordered quickly, and they arrived faster than we thought possible. The customer service and workmanship were exceptional. That's what sets Mander apart. You're not just a number or just another job to them. You're a person who needs their car back quickly and looking as good as new, and Mander understands this and delivers every time. That's why they back up all of their work with a lifetime warranty, and that's also why I just can't recommend them highly enough. With locations across the greater Milwaukee and Waukesha area, there's one near you. So start your repair online at mandercollision.com.
Here's something I bet you didn't know. Byrna, the personal defense company responsible for the fabled Byrna launchers, is proudly hand-assembled in the U.S. right in Fort Wayne, Indiana, by American workers. Byrna is the world leader in less lethal personal defense, and the newest Byrna Compact is small enough to fit in a pocket or purse, but it fires kinetic or pepper rounds that can disable an attacker for up to 40 minutes. No background checks, no permits, ships right to your door. Visit Byrna.com today to find the right launcher for your family. That's BYRNA.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Hard to believe how quickly we've reached a new year. We've seen lots of changes during the past year, but at the Sawmill Restaurant and Pub in Richfield, some things never change, like the relaxing atmosphere, friendly staff, and the fantastic food. Check out the menu at sawmill-n.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Yet more evidence of why it is that the left is fighting so hard to keep as many illegal aliens in this country as possible. We now have complete data from the U.S. Census Bureau on net domestic migration. That means the number of people who went from one state here in this country to another. Net positive domestic migration means you've had an increase in population. Net negative, obviously, you've lost population. If I had to ask you, what are the 3 most liberal states in the entire country, what would you say? California, number 1. That also happens to be the state that lost the most amount of people, 229,000. Number 2, yeah, probably New York. They elected an out-and-out communist as mayor of the country's largest city, NYC. They lost 137,000 people, second most. Now, those are also 2 of the 4 biggest states by population in the country, so no real surprise there. California is by far, far and away the biggest state by population. Number 3, Illinois lost 40,000 people. Then New Jersey, 37,000, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Maryland, Colorado, Hawaii, and Connecticut. All of those states, save for Louisiana, every single one went for Kamala Harris in 2024. Every one of them, again, with the exception of Louisiana, is a deep blue state. People are fleeing. Now let's go to the other side. What states do you think actually had the net highest migration? Believe it or not, Florida is not in the top 5. It's number 8. Number 1, North Carolina. 84,000 people moved to North Carolina last year. In second place, 67,000, Texas. Then South Carolina, Tennessee, Arizona, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Idaho, and Nevada. Every single one of those states, all 10 of the states that were most desirous for people moving from outside of the state, won by Donald Trump in 2024. With the exception of Arizona and North Carolina, all of those states have Republican governors. Actually, and Nevada. All of those states, save for those 3, are very red. And North Carolina, it's something of a fluke that they have a Democrat governor, because it is state politics. It is a very, very conservative state. Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Idaho, those are some of the most right-wing states in the country. Now, you could chalk some of this up to weather. And I'm not going to lie, with the exception of Idaho, all of those states are in the American South, Nevada, Southwest. All of those states have very, very good climates. A lot of the states in the North, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, that lost population, they tend to have rough winters, but that doesn't explain it. What better explains it is tax policies and policies that are hostile to individual and business growth typically see outward migration. And states with, say, no income tax like Texas, like Florida, those are always going to be magnets, especially when you combine them with a very favorable business climate. Not only do you have an actual climate that's incredible, especially down in Florida. It's probably something like 80 degrees in South Florida right now. You get people who want to come there. Folks, I know I have been hammering this home all week long, but it is so important. In order to understand why Democrats are fighting so hard on immigration enforcement, it's because they know as well as I do that this data coming out from the Census Bureau is portending doom for them electorally coming up after the next census. They know that the Census Bureau screwed up. In 2020, the census was flawed, and in fact, it was so flawed, President Trump even said we should do it over, and I don't necessarily disagree, because even the Census Bureau said, yeah, because of the pandemic, we totally missed. Wouldn't you know it, Democrats got a net of 14 seats that they probably shouldn't have gotten because of the screwed up census. Weird how Republicans never seem to benefit from any of these little boo-boos. But it was a messed up census. Well, 2030, there's probably not going to be a pandemic, although watch them cook up COVID-29, the 10-year anniversary edition, just to screw it up. And the census is going to be done right. Texas is likely to gain 4 congressional seats. Florida is going to gain 2. Utah is going to gain. Idaho is going to gain. Georgia is going to gain. North Carolina is going to gain. And all the states that are going to lose, including Wisconsin, have Democrat governors and are typically Democrat strongholds. The end result is that in the presidential election of 2032, Wisconsin is no longer going to be the pivotal swing state because a Republican can win the presidency. And technically, I guess a Democrat could win the presidency too, but it's just going to be a way easier path for a Republican. A Republican can win the presidency without winning a single one of the blue wall states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. For the last 25 years, those have been pivotal. Those have pretty much been the only path to victory for Republicans. If the census numbers hold and population trends continue, all Republicans are going to need to do is hold on to Texas, hold on to Florida, hold on to the Deep South, and then hold on to North Carolina, Arizona, and Georgia, all of which are adding population. And what we do know is that typically conservatives tend to be more mobile. Conservatives tend to be the ones who go from one state to another, especially states in the South, like Arizona, like Georgia, and like North Carolina, because those are very popular retirement destinations, again, because of the incredibly nice weather down there. So if you're getting more Republicans moving in, chances are your states are going to go more to the right. If Vice President Vance, then running for his second term in office as president in 2032, if he just holds on to those 3 states, and again, barring no other changes, and it's entirely possible that, you see some major demographic shift that we just don't see coming. I don't think it's too likely. Democrats are going to be in a whole world of hurt. Not only is it going to be far more difficult for them to win the House of Representatives, it's also going to be far more difficult for them to win the presidency. And frankly, people fleeing these big blue states like Illinois, New York, and California, these are trends that I don't see reversing anytime soon, as these states and big cities within them are doubling down on left-wing socialist policies. You're going to continue to see outward migration, and you're going to continue to see their electoral power dissipate. Coming up, Milwaukee's violence prevention coordinator forced to step down because, well, he's a murderer.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington Total Traffic Center.
Typical heavy roadwork delays 94 westbound between 16th and Hawley, and then eastbound between 84th and Hawley. 894 westbound tightens up at the Mitchell interchange, clears up west of 60th Street. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Nothing brings friends and family together on game day like delicious King's Hawaiian Sliders. Bring them to the big game table and be the real MVP. Pick some up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your local store. Football and King's Irresistible Hawaiian Sliders. There's nothing like it.
Winter in Wisconsin can be mighty frigid, but we have something that can warm anyone's cockles. Play the nationwide Cold Hard Cash Contest 9 times each weekday on Newstalk 1130 WISN. Listen for a keyword, then enter it at newstalk1130.com. If your entry is selected, you win $1,000.
The Cold Hard Cash Contest is presented by Ward Kitchen and Bath in Saukville. They'll help you get rid of that ugly Whirlpool tub, turning your places into amazing spaces. WardKitchenandBath.com.
Here's why. Injured? It is about the money. Warshawski.com. I'm attorney Frank Crivello of the Warshawski Personal Injury Law Firm. Many personal injury firms operate as settlement clearinghouses. It's a low overhead, except for the cost of marketing, and profitable business model for a law firm. They advertise, take cases, and negotiate settlements. They get paid, their clients get paid, everyone is happy. Or are they? If you have a multi-million-dollar injury and settle for a few $100,000, your standard of living for the rest of your life will be terribly impacted. On the other side is Warshawski. From the moment we take your case, we prepare to win at trial. Warshawski is a collection of some of the most accomplished and award-winning personal injury attorneys in Wisconsin, with the most experienced investigators and legal professionals backing their every move. Making injured Wisconsinites whole isn't a game or an act. At Warshawski, it is our calling. We will hold the defendants accountable in your case by making them pay. Injured? It is about the money. Warshawski.com, 414-276-4970.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-978-1515. That's 800-978-1515.
And the winner of the iHeart Podcast Award is...
You can decide who takes home the 2026 iHeart Podcast Awards Podcast of the Year by voting at iHeartPodcastAwards.com now through February 22nd. See all the nominees and place your vote at iHeartPodcastAwards.com.
Audible is a proud sponsor of the Audible Audio Pioneer Award. Explore the best selection of audiobooks, podcasts, and originals all in one easy app. Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com.
I'm Ryan Harrison, owner of Ryan Waterproofing. If it seems rain hangs around your home coming down as insidiously delicate droplets, or in buckets, and if neither, rain tends to lurk suspiciously in the atmosphere around your house, you probably have a wet, mildewy, leaky basement with cracked walls. No basement wall or foundation repair is too big or small for Ryan Waterproofing. We won't be the most expensive. The larger the job, the more you'll save with Ryan. We've eliminated bowed walls, cracks, spalling, seepage, and flooding in Coast Guard stations, museums, and countless Wisconsin homes. Ryan's waterproofing experts show up on time and do exactly what we say we're going to do, eliminating your water problems, restoring your home, even ending your negative obsession with rain. Imagine looking out the window for rainbows rather than obsessing about your basement walls and floors next time, every time it rains. Free estimates, affordable financing. Because praying for drought is overrated. Ryan Waterproofing, call Ryan.com. That's Call RION.com.
Hey, Dan here for CertaPro Painters. You love your home, right? And you want to protect it inside and out with quality paint and a worry-free process. And CertaPro Painters' free estimates are detailed, they're easy to understand, and you get a quote right away. That's why they're dedicated to bringing fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship, and each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated right here in our community. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C, pro.com.
I'm Ryan Sigler at Southeast Wisconsin's #1 traveling therapeutic, Smart Tech. Having difficulty paying attention? Disorganized? Make careless mistakes? Are you forgetful or frequently late? You're not ADD. You've got DDID, more commonly known as damaged, defective iPhone display. Cracked, chipped, or otherwise malfunctioning iPhone screens steal from souls ongoing. Getting your iPhone repaired at the mall or waiting in line at your phone service provider to be told they'll mail a replacement after you pay your deductible are hassles you dread, so you live with constant irritation. Just as a frayed shoelace causes frustration, a damaged iPhone screen never stops robbing time and happiness. A new shoelace is an easy upgrade life hack, just like a new iPhone screen is with SmartTech. SmartTech cures DDID in one convenient 20-minute visit to your home or business. SmartTech comes to you, repairs your iPhone screen in just 20 minutes or less, and you feel better. Optic nerves and information reunited. SmartTechPhoneRepair.com. That's SmartTechPhoneRepair.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
The Milwaukee Admirals have won 3 games in a row, and this weekend they'll take the road show to Des Moines, Iowa to take on the Iowa Wild.
It comes to center. Here's an empty net. Ben Schaefer. He will score.
Pre-game coverage on Friday night begins at 6:30. Face-off at 7 on Fox Sports 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
A tour de force of truth. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. Adam Procell, the head of Milwaukee's Violence Prevention Office, was forced to step down months after he was just sort of randomly picked for the position by Milwaukee's Mayor Chevy Johnson. He was not one of the 3 named finalists. He never interviewed for the position. He just sort of materialized. It's almost as though Chevy Johnson wanted him to bypass the hiring process because he's a convicted murderer. In 1995, he shot and killed a rival gang member. And as we reported extensively at the time when he was hired over the summer, I don't believe Procell was ever totally honest about that. I will give credit where credit is due, however. Procell has been a changed man since getting out of prison in 2015, and he's dedicated his life to violence prevention efforts. I am told that he has done very, very good work in the community. But there are certain positions in government, positions of trust, that should not be held by felons. Turns out the state constitution agrees with me. In quite possibly one of the biggest self-owns in Milwaukee government history, Procell was forced out by a change to his position. This from the Journal Sentinel. The city attorney's office determined that Procell's past felony makes him ineligible for the role as a department head. This comes after members of the city's Common Council unanimously voted at the end of 2025 to move the Office of Community Wellness and Safety. That used to be the Office of Violence Prevention, but they changed the name because it did not prevent any violence whatsoever. They moved it out of an existing government department, the Department of Administration, and shifted it to its own standalone department. Now, perhaps sensing that Procell was going to be out, Mayor Chevy tried vetoing this. The council actually overrode his veto, and that's why it took a while for this to be finalized. The Wisconsin Constitution, Article 13, Section 3, makes it unconstitutional for any person convicted of a felony in any federal or state court to hold, quote, any office of trust, profit, or honor in the state unless they've been pardoned. It is apparently impossible for Governor Evers to pardon Procell. At least that's what Mayor Chevy says. So the fact that he's a department head, the fact that he would get his own city department, means he can't serve. The irony is too delicious. Now, why the Common Council wanted to do this actually does make sense. Why they wanted to move this position to its own department head. Members of the Common Council, Bob Bauman in particular, were a little miffed that they were completely bypassed in the process of hiring Adam Procell. This was easily the most controversial hiring that the city of Milwaukee has made in at least a few years. I made a big deal of it at the time. I said, look, I'm sure the man is reformed. Am I worried that he's going to get into office and start killing people? No, of course not. It sends precisely the wrong message, though, that we're going to bestow government largesse in a largely do-nothing position, give somebody a $150,000 salary who has committed the worst crime that we as a society have deemed, the taking of another life. Now, I heard all the arguments in support of Procell. Well, you know, in order to reach these people, you really need, you can't have somebody who's never lived the life. Oh, give me a break. This is a paper-pushing position that does absolutely nothing. It is essentially a government make-work job. We could eliminate the Office of Wellness and Safety tomorrow and nobody would ever notice. Do you know how I can prove that? Up until I said his name, even if you followed city politics, would you have remembered who the head of the Office of Wellness and I don't even remember what the hell we call it. Wellness and Safety? Is that it? Wellness and Safety. I don't even remember what they call it anymore. I'm paid to cover this stuff. I'm always going to call it, it's sort of like the Sears Tower down in Chicago. Nobody's ever calling it Willis Tower. I'm never calling it the Office of Wellness and Safety. It's always going to be the Office of Violence Prevention for me. It's not like he was going to be like going around and single-handedly preventing violence. Like he was going to be called to the scene of a dude holding a gun to his girlfriend. Say, stop, dude, don't do it. I've been down this path, man. You don't want to do it. Oh, yeah, bro. Okay, I totally see what you're doing. Give me a break. Give me a break. And again, now we can go back to his nonprofit and do just fine work. It was a mistake from the beginning to hire this guy. There are some crimes that, yes, do prevent you from being in a position of trust, from drawing a government salary. And I'd like to think that taking another human being's life would be whatever. Okay, here's another way. Here's a good way to test this. Here's a good way to test this. Adam Procell is a white guy, okay? He's a white dude. Let's say instead of 20 years ago, 30 years ago now, instead of shooting a gangbanger to death, let's say he's on tape repeatedly calling that gangbanger the N-word. In fact, I believe it was a black man that he killed. Would anyone in city government consider hiring him? No, because you would think that racism would be a crime that we don't want to be associated with as the city of Milwaukee. Murder? Totally fine. So Mayor Chevy gets up in this tearful press conference, and Procell was he's wiping away tears. He was just so upset. And again, I really have nothing against Adam Procell. Except, of course, the whole murdering thing, that's taken me a while to work through my head how we thought this was the guy. Out of all the non-murderers in Milwaukee who could possibly head up the violence prevention office, we went with the murderer. Man, my first choice dropped out. I really wanted Jeffrey Dahmer, but it turns out that he died 32 years ago. I guess we'll have to go with the guy who only killed one person and didn't eat him. So Chevy, at this press conference, actually pretends that he has no idea how constitutions work and brings up President Trump having 34 felony convictions by comparing what happened to Procell with the 2024 election.
It's a bit ironic to me that, somebody could be the president of the United States of America. Could be president of our country, the highest position in our land, the most powerful person, not just in our country, but on planet Earth, and have felonies. But a felon, somebody who has a felony conviction, cannot lead a department in his own community, working to prevent crime, working to prevent those issues that harm folks in our community. The irony, I think, is pretty astounding.
So that's not actually irony. The irony would be hiring somebody to prevent violence who committed violence. That's irony, you absolute moron. I am continually amazed at how this guy tries so hard as the mayor of Milwaukee to be like the Timu Barack Obama. And yet the stuff that comes out of his mouth in the quasi-Obama affect is just so stupid. The federal Constitution, the Constitution of the United States, has basically two qualifications for being president. One, natural-born citizen. Two, 35 years old. That's it. Does it say anything about criminal convictions? No. There is one conviction. If you are impeached and removed from office, that is the one thing that will bar you from ever serving as president of the United States. Trump was never impeached and removed. Does the state constitution prevent people like Adam Procell from holding positions of trust within state and municipal government? Yes, it does. I mean, this is, I keep coming back to this. It is a tweet from a very, very good account called Millennial Woes. And I'm looking it up really, really quickly just to make sure that I get it right, because it is one of the best tweets in the history of this app. February 1st, 2025. It's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending not to understand things, thus making discourse impossible. That is literally Chevy Johnson today, pretending not to understand why the state constitution bars the murderer from serving in the don't murder department, and why the federal constitution would allow President Trump to serve as president. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Back in a second.
Keep in touch with Dan on Twitter at Dan O'Donnell Show.
More of the show next.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
43 northbound at Fond du Lac. You got a crash that's been moved off to the left shoulder. Southbound 43 down in Highland Ave, a crash off to the right shoulder. And 94 westbound at the stadium, right shoulder blocked with a crash headed into the roadwork. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Lynch Automotive family of dealerships.
It's the New Year's sales event at the Lynch family of dealerships, and the deals are kicking the year off with a bang. 20% off Sierras, 0% on Rams, and leases starting at $249 on the all-new Equinox. Visit shoplynch.com today.
Verneri award-winning home renovating.
All I'm doing is driving to have a meeting with my mom and dad, that's all.
About our finances?
Look, I'm already very late.
Jerry, remember a ceremony a year ago? I dressed in white and you in black?
I know you're my wife, but my mom said to me, you and what's her name?
She doesn't even remember my name.
Should bank at the bank next to my apartment, she said.
These days, the bank for us is First American.
Gotta go or Mom's gonna worry.
First American has products that make us smart savers and smart borrowers.
See, Mom made tapioca pudding for me.
First American CDs offer some of the highest rates.
But my mom says...
Your wife says we may even need a loan soon. And First American's fixed-rate home equity loan is a smart way to borrow.
Yeah, but Mom says that
we can get the money and...
Okay. Well, check out First American Bank. Now, who can that be? Mom.
When you didn't show up, I got worried. Here's your tapioca. Dad's parking the car. Who's this?
Mom, it's my wife, Carol.
Oh, yeah, we met you at the wedding. Hi, dear.
First American Bank, the bank that does more for your money. Visit us online at firstambank.com or call us at 262-577-2400. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If your knees or hips are slowing you down, don't wait for it to get worse. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin offers same-day surgery with advanced technology and specialized joint care to get you moving again faster. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference.
David Brownsdorf here, disclosing Flawless Flooring's secret weapon to businesses other than flooring company owners.
Whoa, sounds scary.
Scary good. Our iNet website, SEO, and radio marketing completely transformed Flawless with incredible results, delivering opportunity, spurring business growth.
Thought you were going to say, after months of alchemy, you've created a carpet stink and stain removal magic elixir.
That would be a carpet knife and dumpster.
Flawless Flooring added carpeting to both showrooms, becoming a true one-stop flooring shop since coming to iNet.
And we have the best flooring website in Wisconsin.
Likely the best anywhere. More important, how are sales?
Since partnering with iNet, sales doubled. iNet's laser-focused SEO drives insane traffic to our site and customers to the showrooms. Hiring iNet is casting a net, catching all the right customers.
Clever, Dave. Sensory Underload. Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
Not as clever as your creative genius branding and radio ad writing. iNet-web.com. CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
iNet will improve your business's economy.
Your doctor prescribed profitable weight loss drugs? Do you think they know about the $2 billion gastroparesis and vision loss lawsuit? Total Health's Rapid Reset restores your body's ability to burn fat for energy naturally. Relativity equals expertise plus execution. TotalHealthInc.com.
Divergent Family Law offers free consultations for divorce and flat rate quotes so you can make informed decisions about your next steps. Our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. Your fair share or better, divergentfamilylaw.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell, for my friends at Current Electric, they'd like to thank Southeast Wisconsin for making them the #1 choice in same-day electrical services. Do you know the reason so many people choose Current Electric? It's trust. And it's that simple. People trust the Current Electric electricians that come into their homes and perform same-day electrical service and repairs and have for over 40 years. Give the superheroes from Current Electric a chance to earn your trust. You won't be sorry. Go to callcurrent.com.
Men's wedding bands made from whiskey barrels and meteorites.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Bullet points.
I'm Eben Brown. Will your right to carry your firearm extend to public buses and trains? Both the Second Amendment Foundation and the Firearms Policy Coalition want the U.S. Supreme Court to get involved in a case out of Chicago that originally successfully challenged Illinois law banning firearms on public transit. The case was first filed in a federal district court in 2022, and that court ruled the Illinois ban violated the Second Amendment, failing the Supreme Court's Bruin test for historical analogs in gun laws. But the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals overturned that ruling, saying trains and buses are sensitive places and can be made gun-free zones. If the Supreme Court overturns the Seventh Circuit, similar bans against carrying firearms legally on public transportation in other places, such as New York, Boston, and Philadelphia, could also be undone. And those are your bullet points. I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Coming up after the top of the hour news, my favorite new recurring segment each and every 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Look, we realize it's been a long week and we're going to have some fun. Yes, how bizarre, strangest stories of the past 7 days. Who wants to replace Punxsutawney Phil, the nation's official groundhog, with a hologram? You'd better believe it's the usual suspects. We'll get to that story and more of the strangest of the past week. That's coming up at about 5:30 or so. But we have had a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks with a brand new segment we call Talk Radio Roulette. Here's how it works. You call up, and I have absolutely no idea what you're going to say. We are going to screen your call, so you can't just, call and start screaming swear words into the receiver. But I'm not going to have any idea what you're going to bring up. It is just going to be a completely random conversation. You can ask any question. You can make any point. You can bring up any topic you want. It doesn't have to be political. Doesn't have to be germane to anything we've been talking about. Thinking about Open Line Friday. It's like Open Line Friday on the old Rush Limbaugh show. Rest in peace, Rush. We still 5 years later miss you. But I have no idea. Like, Rush would still have his calls screened for him, so he would have an idea of what it was and could prepare what it was that the caller was going to say. I have none of that luxury. You just get to spring on me whatever you want to spring on me. 414-799-1130. We're going to have producer Doug start lining up those calls. All he's going to give me is your name and where you're from. The AdventKnows.com talk and text line is 414-799-1130, and it is, as it always is, open. We await your calls. I can't wait to talk to you about anything and everything. We have also got another chance for you to win $1,000 in our Cold Hard Cash contest. Had a winner 24 hours ago, all the way from Hurricane, Utah. Let's make it 2 5 o'clock winners in a row coming up next. Dan O'Donnell Show. It is time now for our very favorite new weekly segment. It's, I think, very, very popular with the audience. We call it Talk Radio Roulette. I am sort of gambling with my professional life here because unlike Open Line Friday, we are opening up the phone lines right now and I have absolutely no idea what it is any of our callers are going to say. My producer has screened the calls. He has not put up any information that would tell me what you are going to talk about. So when I put you on the line, you are going to say whatever is on your mind and I have absolutely no idea what it is. It is a fun segment, and we are going to get started in just a second. First, though, let's win you $1,000 last night at 5 o'clock. We had a winner all the way from Hurricane, Utah, and I want to make sure I get the name right. Was it Debbie? It was Susan. Susan from Hurricane, Utah. Hurricane. Producer Doug, Johnny on the spot with the pronunciations. Hurricane, Utah. Why don't they just spell it Hurricun then? Yeah, he says tell that to Teresa, Wisconsin. Yes, exactly. I can't even tell you how many people. Teresa, Wisconsin, I need to get to know. It's Teresa. 414-799-1130, by the way, if you would like to take part in Talk Radio Roulette, but if you would like to win $1,000, the word of this hour is dollar, D-O-L-L-A-R, dollar. You have got until 5:55 to go to our website and enter the keyword dollar. Be like Susan from Hurricane. She's from Utah. Let's just say that. Be like Susan from Utah, and you will win $1,000 instantly. Let's roll that Talk Radio Roulette wheel. And it lands on Lisa in Waukesha. Lisa, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's going on? Okay. Oh, man. You know how out of touch I am? I don't even remember the reference to that. It was Holy Grail, right? I know it was Monty Python. Yeah, okay, I couldn't remember. Was it Faulty Towers? I thought it was like 20 miles per second or something like that. I don't remember, but that is see, this is the random stuff that I love, and this is exactly why we do this segment. Greg in Brookfield up next. Wait. I keep forgetting to roll the roulette wheel. Greg, you're on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on? Probably not. And here's why. We do not have closed primaries in Wisconsin. Now, for those who don't remember Operation Chaos, in 2008, John McCain basically wrapped up the nomination very, very quickly. And Rush said, since it was pretty clear Obama was going to win the Democratic nomination, but he wanted to force Obama to spend as much money and to just have as much of a difficult time eventually winning the nomination as possible, he was instructing all of his listeners to vote for Hillary Clinton, to actually cross over and vote for Hillary Clinton in order to keep that primary going. It ultimately didn't work. Obama won the presidency that year, but it was a very memorable thing that Rush did. We are not, unfortunately, probably able to do that, okay? Because every single person in this state isn't just going to be voting in the primary for governor. They're also going to be voting for their state assembly person. Now, are some of them with incumbent Republicans not going to have a primary? Yeah, sure. In Wisconsin, you can only vote in one party's primary. Just because we are an open state, Greg, this means you don't register for a political party and you don't just automatically get, say, the Republican ballot. You can say, you actually say when you go to the ballot box, you say, I would like to vote in the Republican primary, or I would like to vote in the Democrat primary. Let's say there is a contested primary. Well, there's a contested primary for a lieutenant governor, right? We're going to have Will Martin, I believe David Varnum, and I want to say there's another candidate. We may have another couple of candidates getting in. So you're going to want to vote in that one. We're probably not going to have a contested primary for Attorney General. Eric Toney is almost certainly, in fact, I'd be shocked if anybody got in. If anybody got in, it's not going to be a serious challenger. But you see sort of the problem there. Much as I would love to run my own Wisconsin Operation Chaos, we still need you voting in the Republican primary. Let's go to Jeff in Greenfield. You're on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on, Jeff? Why is it? I don't know. Is this a new thing? I just thought politicians were always idiots. Well, it sounds like you're pretty much just talking about the Democrats there. Actually, I'm going to try to give a serious answer here. We are in a period of extreme political polarization, and frankly, it's not because the Republicans have moved farther to the right. If anything, Republicans have actually moved farther to the left on major issues, especially foreign policy and trade, as compared with the Reagan-era Republicans and compared with the George W. Bush-era Republicans, who espoused a more aggressive foreign policy and getting us into foreign entanglements, and the Ronald Reagan conservatives, who were the ultimate free traders, right? The belief that tariffs killed international business. I happen to believe that myself, but President Trump does not. And in fact, President Trump is far more of a non-interventionist, a peacenik, and he's certainly anything but a free trader. So Republicans, while they have gone further to the left, and I would argue that we now have a more centrist Republican Party on policy, Democrats have gone so far to the left that even positions that they took as recently as 10 to 15 years ago are completely foreign to the mainstream of this party. I mean, you had Barack Obama talking about the need for robust immigration enforcement. You had Hillary Clinton as recently as 10 years ago saying that sanctuary cities were unlawful and that there was you should not give federal money to sanctuary cities. We played the soundbite earlier this week. So if it sounds like people are insane, it's probably because the left has gone truly nutty. And let's not even get into the notion of gender, this idea that you can just sort of change your gender at will. Let's roll that ball again. And we find Kathy in Milwaukee up next on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on, Kathy? Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Kathy, your mouth to God's ears. I mean, we starting in 1973 aborted not one, not two, not three. Well, what is it? 50 years ago. I guess that's two. By definition, a generation is 25 years. So 2 generations of children. I would actually count it 3 generations. The children in 1973, then 25 years later, 25 years after that. So yeah, 3 generations of children potentially were aborted. And don't discount that. I mean, everybody says, well, it's lifestyle changes and it's easy access to contraceptives. No, I do not happen to think so. I actually think that the idea of the larger family was destroyed in that exact era, Kathy. And I, at the risk of being presumptuous, I think you're a little bit older than I am, and you probably remember the era. You remember the era. Oh, just a little. Okay. I'm 29. You're like 39. I get it. But you remember the era where women stayed home, right? You raised 4 or 5 kids. Dad was able to support a family on a middle class or upper middle class income, and not just a family of 3, mom, dad, and baby, but a family of 6, a family of 7. I mean, my father had 6 brothers and sisters, and that was a relatively normal Irish Catholic family. Well, in the early 1970s, with the free love movement, that all changed. With the women's lib movement, the idea was that it was undesirable and somehow anti-feminist to have those traditional gender roles where the woman would stay home and raise the children. She needed to be out in the workforce. And we've had that dominant idea pretty much ever since for 5 decades. That has also contributed to it. But yeah, I think the easy access to abortion is a big, big reason why we have such a low birth rate. Let's go to Mitch in New Berlin. You're up next on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Mitch, you there? Oh, Michael, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Michael, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Okay. Really? Where was this? Okay. Oh, Michael. I'm actually totally stealing that one because that is like a world-class dad joke. I sort of figured I was getting led into the lead up of a dad joke, and Michael, I'm telling you, you delivered, my friend. Let's roll that wheel again, and we go to Tim in Janesville. Tim, you're on Talk Radio Roulette. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That is 100%. As for the Spanish, I have no idea. Every so often I'll get them. I don't know. My guess is that, so we have, it's called a traffic department, not like traffic on the road, but I don't even know. Producer Doug, do you know why we call the department that orders and places where the advertisers, where the commercials go, we call it the traffic department? That's usually a mistake in trafficking the national spots. We actually at iHeart don't have control, like locally, of the spots that we get. You are exactly right. It is dependent upon where your physical phone is. So if you are in, say, Denver, Colorado, but you're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show, you're going to get ads for like the upcoming Colorado Rockies baseball game. And that obviously is designed because why would we be advertising for the upcoming Brewers game? You're thousands of miles away. As for the Spanish thing, my guess is that it's a mistake and that you're not supposed to be hearing that, but it's getting in with, you're somehow in the algorithm where Spanish speakers are getting those ads. Sometimes I'll get them too, and I'll say, hey, ¿qué pasa, Senor iHeart? Let's go to Dan in West Bend up next on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on, Dan? Yeah, turns out no one is above the law except the protected classes that Democrats need for votes. It's amazing how that works, isn't it? We actually have a number of sound bites of Don Lemon himself saying no one is above the law, not even presidents. As we roll the wheel again, we go to David in Madison up next on the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's going on, David? Happy Friday to you too, sir. Kevin Smallfry? Oh, Jacob Smallfry. Okay, that took me. I was like, wait, Kevin Fry. Will he show on the national stage? Like run for president? No, he's got no chance of running for president. Could he run for Congress? Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, I wouldn't want to be Ilhan Omar right now, quite frankly. They just found her husband's investment firm, where he's reporting all of his income, has no actual clients. It appears that pretty much every business, Omar, remember we were reporting on the winery that doesn't actually sell wine, yet somehow was doing $5 million in revenue in 2025. It's just, or 2024. It doesn't seem like this is going to end well for her. She even had to very likely stage an attack where the guy, I didn't realize this, but it has apparently been confirmed. She was sprayed with apple cider vinegar, which isn't just non-toxic and totally harmless. It is also not forbidden by Islamic law. So it's like it's a completely harmless substance to her that she got sprayed with. And it's just weirdly coincidental. The day after an absolute bombshell report drops that appears to tie her directly to rather obvious fraud, she gets attacked. Weird how that works. So it's entirely possible there will be an opening for Congress that, yes, I could definitely see Jacob Fry running for, but in terms of any higher office like the United States Senate, I would I think that's very unlikely. Brody in McWanago, you're on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on, Brody? Hi. If it would flare back up again, so any aid to Israel, I mean, we have ongoing aid all the time. I'm not sure exactly what the question is. Boy. Yeah, I mean, see, the thing about Israel is they are fighting the exact same enemies that we fight, right? And I think Bibi actually put it very, very well when he said, never forget that Iran calls Israel the little Satan and it calls America the great Satan. So it's not as though, this is just, okay, we're blindly giving money to, say, Ukraine, where Russia, at least in the near term, doesn't really pose much of a threat to American interests directly. Sure, there's the indirect impact on, oil and just general global disruption. Well, Iran, through its proxies, is launching and has launched direct attacks, especially on American merchant ships in the Straits of Hormuz. So it's not as though we're just propping up Israel because, we're a puppet of our Jewish masters or whatever anti-Semitic conspiracy is out there. There are legitimate, immediate term American interests. I happen to believe that Iran, which is the primary funder of Hezbollah, Hamas, pretty much every terrorist army that has been harassing Israel for decades, those are very real threats to the American homeland. And Iran has been funding the people who have attacked Americans both here at home and all across the world. So I guess, yes, in terms of general aid packages, I would support in the theoretical reheating of that war. I in the last 6 months or so, I mean that war is pretty well and truly over. All right, I think we have time for about one or two more calls. Let's go to Pat in Milwaukee. You're on Talk Radio Roulette. What's going on, Pat? I think it's certainly possible. I think that's very unlikely. In fact, Rubio and Vance are like best buddies. They get along very, very well. And Trump naming J.D. Vance as his running mate was about as big a signal as it gets that is the heir apparent to MAGA. Frankly, I think J.D. Vance is an incredible communicator when it comes to conservative policy. And I mean this sincerely, on par with Reagan. The way he is able to succinctly make the case for conservative policy in a cohesive and convincing way. You know, he doesn't have the same charm and the same affect as Ronald Reagan, but I think he is much better served, at least in the short term. Rubio has already said, if J.D. Vance runs for president, I am not going to run for president. And one of the open secrets in the Trump administration is that if and when J.D. Vance is the Republican nominee, he's going to choose Marco Rubio as his running mate. And I think that just makes a lot of sense. I don't see... Yes and no, but again, vice president is always seen as the president in waiting. You see what I'm saying? So I don't think Rubio would run for the presidency if Vance is running. In fact, he said as much. And I think the two are so tight that it probably is going to be his vice presidency. And the vice presidency can be a demotion. There is no constitutionally defined role for the vice president except for president of the Senate and breaking ties in 50-50 votes. So you can sort of make of it whatever you want. And frankly, I mean, if Rubio would want to stay on as Secretary of State and the other 15 million jobs that he does, I think he'd be allowed to do that as well. All right. A lot of great calls. Folks, I would love to just continue to do this for the entire hour. And who knows, we may eventually expand Talk Radio Roulette to the entire hour. But we've got some more stuff to get to, including How Bizarre, Strangest Stories of the Past 7 Days, coming up next. All right, I put in a cut in the X Drive. It is last segment. I need to take off a little early, so it has the music, the bumper music, and the outro. Can you just tell me how much time it is so we can kind of back time the last break?
Yep.
Thank you. Really do enjoy doing Talk Radio Roulette. It is one of my absolute favorite segments of the entire week. It's just, it's fun. I love talking to you folks, and I realize we do so many exclusive stories, and there's just so much to cover nationally, statewide, locally in Milwaukee, Madison, and really across the state that we don't have time to just sort of open up the phone lines. And I am very strongly considering, what would you think, Producer Doug, if on Friday we moved How Bizarre to like 4:35 and we just did the entire hour of Talk Radio Roulette? I know we're always going to have the calls. What do you think? Would people want to hear that? Should we put that out to the listeners? What do you think? Do you think so? Because there are a couple of stories I want to get to. It is now official. The Green Bay Packers have signed Brian Gutekunst, the general manager, head coach Matt LaFleur, and Russ Ball. What is his official title? Capologist? Something? I don't even know what it is. President? He's not president of football. Yeah, director of pro personnel, director of player personnel. It's basically this triumvirate. It's sort of like how the Romans ruled themselves in the waning days of the Republic and the first days of the Empire. The first Republic was at Pompey the Great, Caesar, and Gracchus? Crassus, Marcus Crassus. You've got LaFleur and Ball and Gutekunst, and none of them report to the other. You would think there would be like an organizational structure where Ed Policy is on top. He's the team president. And then right below him, you've got Russ Ball. He's the director of player personnel. Right below him, you've got the general manager, Brian Gutekunst. And right below him, you've got the head coach in Matt LaFleur. Well, it doesn't work like that. They all directly report to policy. And there was a lot of angst, and there was a lot of desire to just completely clean house after the Packers utterly collapsed. People forget they were 9-3-1 going into the game in Denver when they were leading the Denver Broncos, who ended up winning the number one seed in the AFC and going all the way to the AFC Championship game before losing to the New England Patriots. They were up in that game when their season ended. And I think a lot of people realize, oh my God, the season is over. Of course, Micah Parsons goes down with an injury. I think what saved Matt LaFleur from feeling the ramifications of one of the truly, truly worst playoff collapses in a history of gut-wrenching, soul-crushing Packers playoff losses, especially coming to the arch-rival Chicago Bears, was the fact that he could point at, look, we lost our all-pro tight end in Tucker Kraft. We lost our all-universe defensive superstar, Micah Parsons. This team healthy goes a whole lot further than a first-round flameout. Did you see the Minnesota Vikings just fired their general manager a day after he admitted, yes, so I really don't know why I got rid of Sam Darnold, the guy who is now leading the Seattle Seahawks to the Super Bowl. They went 14-3 with Darnold, who threw like 4,300 yards and absolutely looked like a superstar. And they said, yeah, you know what? We're going to go with this injured rookie who is totally unproven instead of the guy who we dominated the league with. And the general manager goes yesterday, he's in an interview, he said, yeah, you gotta look back and think about what your mindset was at the time. Well, apparently ownership of the Minnesota Vikings said, yeah, that answer is not going to cut it. Thanks for the memories. You're fired. Suffice it to say, the Packers don't have problems with that sort of incompetence at the organizational level. And what they do pride, apparently above all else, is organizational stability. How bizarre. Strangest stories of the past 7 days coming up next here on The Dan O'Donnell Show.
This report is sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Nothing brings friends and family together on game day like delicious King's Hawaiian Sliders. Bring them to the big game table and be the real MVP. Pick some up this weekend in the bakery or deli section